I talk to a lot of people, they always want a great credit score. They think that's the thing that's going to get them to the next level, to get lower interest rates, to get approved for a home, car, loans, business loans, or whatever it may be. But really, the score is just a byproduct of what you really want to look at. What you want to look at is the actual contents that is within your score. And that's going to be my third point. I'm going to give you the exact formula that you need to follow in order to make yourself approval proof. So pay very close attention.
And you guys know how I love formulas and systems, so I'm super excited for this too. So, all right, what do we got to do first?
Perfect. So the first thing that you want to do is a lot of people don't know this, that it is your right under the Fair Credit Reporting Act to have a 100% accurate credit report. And that could mean a bunch of different things, right? So not 70% correct, not 80%, not 99.5% correct, 100% correct. And if everything is not correct on your credit report, it has to be removed. Even if it's an accurate, say, debt or say you did have some late payments, if that stuff isn't matching up across all three bureaus, and if they can't validate it, it has to be cleaned up.
So, like, for instance, if I have a credit card, Capital One credit card, and on one credit bureau it says I have 100% on-time payments, and another credit bureau it says, like, no, Lacey, you're wrong, you missed January's payment, because they don't line up, that can get removed.
Exactly.
The debt gets removed too?
You actually still have the debt, but in terms of being on your credit report, it has to be removed. A lot of people don't know that.
That's pretty good.
Yep. So
you better go. Oh, we talked about auditing your insurance. You better audit your credit report.
Hey, you should. And that's my number one point, is to obtain all 3 copies of your credit report. So what you want to do is you want to get all 3 of them, and you want to look at all of your accounts, and you want to make sure everything is being listed correctly.
So what are the 3?
So Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So those are the main 3 bureaus. So once you get your credit report, so that's step 1. The first thing that you want to look at is your personal information section. So this is a hack right here. So say if you have, say, collections on your report, or say if you have late payments, you don't know this, but I see a lot of credit reports that first names, last names are not correct. I see date of births that aren't correct. All these different things, and that information is associated with the negative things on your credit report. So what I always recommend to do is, if you see those inaccuracies, call all 3 credit bureaus, and this could apply to you even if you don't have any negative information on your credit report. Like I said, you want a 100% accurate report.
Right.
So you'll just call all 3 credit bureaus, be like, hey, I got copies of my credit report. This information is not being listed correctly. Can you please update this for me so that way I can have a 100% accurate report?
And that will raise your credit score.
Yes. So I actually had a client back in December. Now, this lady is actually one of my best clients, because she came through YouTube, and she's from Alabama. Alabama people are hilarious. But, she followed my exact steps, and she actually didn't have a score for Equifax, and she had her personal information was not listed correctly, so she didn't have a score at all. She did this step, and by doing that, it actually raised her. She didn't have a score at all. It raised her score up to like 740 points.
Dang.
I've had other clients who've done this step.
Some of y'all don't even have a 740 credit score right now. I know, watching. I know for sure you don't.
Yep.
This lady just passed you up.
Yep, she did. Now, just because you get the information updated doesn't mean that it's always going to get the negative items off. But that is a great way to get stuff cleaned up, because it's all a manual process. When people say you apply for things, whatever information that they're putting into the system, that's going to reflect on your report. So get that cleaned up. And you could see some deletions.
Okay, what's the app? Because I have the credit score app that has all 3 reports on it. What is it called? Is there an app somebody can use?
So I always,
because they're asking, how do I see all 3?
Yep. So there's a bunch of different credit monitoring platforms that you can use. Now, those will be like your Vantage scores, but what I always recommend is getting the official. So Experian is
That's what I use.
You can create accounts for like TransUnion and Equifax to get your official copy of your credit report.
And they'll give you all 3. Like Experian gives me access to all 3. Is that still good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. And honestly too, I always recommend to get the paper, like hard copy. So I would always recommend, asking the credit bureaus, hey, or like sending a letter out saying, hey, I would like a copy of my credit report. I want the official copy, because that's the thing that that stands firm. And what will happen is they'll send it to you, because that's the actual data that's being listed. So you can just contact them directly, send a letter out, or look at your Vantage scores. Go to Smart Credit, Identity IQ. There's a bunch of different.
This goes on your to-do list tonight because just like your insurance auditing, this is super important. Imagine that you can get your credit score up into, what's the high, 880? Is that right?
850.
850. Imagine you can get, I think mine's like 830. Is that good?
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, right. Imagine you can get it up to 830, by just doing a couple of these things. Okay, what do we got next? Yeah.
Cool. So, recap. Step number 1, get your copies of your credit report. Step number 2, update the personal information section. Now, this is the sauce. This is
sauce.
This is the formula. This is the exact formula that
you guys. He's giving away the goods tonight.
I am.
I know. You're supposed to hire him, but no. You know what? Josh's heart is so big. He's like, I'm gonna give the goods away to everybody on Money Mondays.
Exactly.
All right. What do we got?
So now, as I said in the beginning, that you want to focus on the structure of your credit report. So when you focus on the structure, this will literally help you become approval proof. So when you apply for different loans and stuff like that, they're not looking at your credit score. They're looking at the different components of your credit score, such as payment history, your utilization, how many derogatory marks, if you have any, your credit history, open accounts, how many open accounts you have, and also how many inquiries you have. So you want to make sure that those things are in the exact range that they need to be in. So I'm going to go over exactly the exact formula that you want to shoot for. And if you're not there, I'll have a solution for you on how to get there.
Love it.
So first is that you want to have a 100% payment history. That means 0 late payments.
Okay, but they go back like forever when they're looking at your payment history. So how do you clean that up then?
Yeah, so you can you can challenge anything that's on your credit report. You're right under the Fair Credit Reporting Act to dispute and challenge anything that you want to make sure that it's accurate. So I always recommend sending out, so there's 2 different terms, right? I always recommend challenging and versus like disputing right out the gate. So basically you just contact the creditor. You can say, hey, I noticed this on my report. Can you send me basically paperwork saying that, can you provide me paperwork that this is accurate? And sometimes they might be able to do so. Sometimes maybe not. You could also say if you just have one 30-day late payment on your report, you can request a goodwill. So you could basically say, hey, I had one late payment, but if you go back in my credit history, you'll notice that I've been on time all the time. Can you please, give me grace and update this for me? And sometimes they may do that. Sometimes, depending on the creditor, they're pretty tough and they'll just say no. But it's always worth a try to dispute it. Also, what you can do about your late payments is challenge and dispute. So go to the credit bureaus directly and say, hey, I noticed I want to make sure I have the official copies of my credit report. I noticed some things. Can you prove that I owe this debt, or can you prove that I missed my payments on these dates? And if they can't provide sufficient proof of that, like in writing or in with documents, it must be deleted.
Is there like a time frame they need to do this in? Because I feel like, okay.
Yep. So,
I feel like they can't just take forever.
Yeah, they can't. So it's basically a 30 to 45 day window.
Oh, sneaky.
Exactly. So you always want to say, hey, can you respond to me? And under one of the laws, they have to respond back in an adequate time.
And if they don't, then you can be like, okay, take it off. You didn't respond.
Exactly.
Buy late payments.
And when you send these letters, I definitely recommend certified mail. Because you'll have a paper trail. So that way you can actually prove the dates.
I love it. Smart.
So 100% payment history. Next is your credit card utilization. So this is huge. And this is huge just because it's 30% of your score. So basically your utilization is, in simple terms, it's how much available credit you have and how much of it you're actually using.
Right.
So if you go to Google, they're going to say stay 30% or below.
Right.
But the exact range that you want to stay between is 3 to 10%.
Oh, shoot.
That's going to report the best and give you the best chances of either increasing your score, also keeping your score very high.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, too, because I pay my credit card off every single month, like probably a lot of you do. I use it for all my expenses because I want points, of course, because then I can buy stuff with the points. But depending on what time of the month I pay it, my score will go like like this because it looks like my utilization rate's so high. And then next month they're like, oh, your utilization rate's at 1%. Your credit score's through the roof. So that makes sense because I always thought it was under 30, but that makes a lot of sense. So
no, that's the basic answer they give you. 30 to 10% is a sweet spot.
Yeah. Good to know. Good to know. So pay those credit cards like maybe twice a month.
Yep.
Keep that score high.
Yep. And I also want to say one thing as you're keeping note of these, especially you want to be in these ranges, especially when you know you're about to apply for something. So then that way, when it goes to the system, everything is where it needs to be.
I love it. Get that money.
Next is you need to have 0 derogatory marks. So that means no collections, no charge-offs, none of that.
No negotiations. Is that what a charge-off is? When they're like, hey, you owe this amount of money, and you're like, what if I only pay 1,000?
Yeah, so basically a charge-off is basically they just written off the debt.
Oh,
so they just
it's a write-off.
Pretty much took it as a loss, but it's still going to be on your report for like the next 7 years.
Yep.
So definitely want to get that cleaned up. So when it comes to collections are my favorite thing to try to like remove.
Yeah.
Because what happens with collections is the original company has sold off the debt. So
yep.
And this is the cool thing. So I always send letters directly to the collections agencies first, because when they start off the debt, they most likely don't have the original paperwork with your signatures, with just all the proof saying that you actually owe this debt. Now, when it comes to collections, though, it can get removed from the credit report, but it doesn't mean that you just wipe the debt away completely. We're just removing it from the credit report. So usually what I do when it comes to my clients, I send the debt validation letter out. I say, hey, I noticed this debt on my credit report. I don't remember that I even owe this debt. Can you please provide me signatures, paperwork, contracts that I owe this? And a lot of the times, because it got sold off, they don't have any of that information. So then they have to remove it.
Okay, I love this because, I mean, you still owe the debt, but it's not impacting your credit score, so you could actually secure more money. Maybe you could secure more money at a lower interest rate and use that to pay off the other debt. I mean, that would be a killer move. Yep. And no, Jill thought that derogatory marks meant calling and cursing somebody out. So, if that was the case, anything I had Pat Kimball call on, I would have derogatory marks on. So literally, I think that we all get frustrated with our credit card companies. We would all have lots of marks. But yeah, no, that's not derogatory. Yep. I love it.
So the next thing, you want a minimum of 7 years of credit history. Now, there's no like special tricks that you can really do for this. I do have one little thing, but it just comes with building credit.
Yeah.
Like, the sooner you start, the better. But one thing that you can do to increase your length of credit history, say you have a spouse, say you have a family member, say you have a trusted person who has excellent credit, they have high limit credit cards, they pay every single month on time, you can become an authorized user. So, for an example, with me, right, my grandfather had a credit card, so I got added as an authorized user a few years ago. He had like 20 plus years of credit history, perfect credit, everything. It raised my score instantly in about a week when I got added, like 150 points.
Wait, so does that mean because Pat and Luke have credit cards under my American Express that their credit is better?
Well, if you didn't manually add them,
you guys owe me big.
But I mean, you could add them though,
Or no, because no, or no,
or no.
Okay, I just got it.
I was trying to help you out, Luke and Pat. I was trying to help you out. But
okay, authorized user is also like somebody else that has their own card in their name though under your account. Yeah. So yes, Pat and Luke, you're lucky. Okay, got it. So, all right. So that's good. That's great.
So that's credit history, minimum 7 years. Next is the amount of open accounts and good standings that you have. So minimum, I'll say 12. That's where you want to shoot for, because the more open accounts you have, also the mix of those accounts report really well.
So this is where I struggle a lot, and I think a lot of you are with me on this, because like for instance, I've only got maybe 3-4 credit cards. I can apply for a lot of credit cards and get approval on some great ones. But then I'm like, for me, the ding on my credit report, I feel like drops my credit score because I'm at that threshold where I have too many hard credit inquiries. So like, what's better, like getting the new card and having another account that has all of that ability to charge, or the ding? Like what?
Yeah. So
this, I think a lot of you guys struggle with this. You're like, I don't want another hard inquiry on my report.
So here's some more sauce for you.
Saucy.
So say you want to get access. So when you apply for credit cards, not every credit card puts an inquiry for every single bureau. So
Okay.
Chase may put inquiries on Experian and TransUnion, but Bank of America might just do Equifax. But when it comes to applying for credit cards, I always recommend to apply in the same day. You don't want to spread them out because that's going to be multiple hard inquiries. But if you apply on one day at the same time, it'll only account for one inquiry.
Oh, that's gold. I hope you all caught that right there. All you ladies out there that want to go shopping and get a bunch of credit cards, do it all on the same day.
Yep, exactly.
It's only one inquiry. I like it. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
So open accounts, again, that could be revolving credit, so credit cards, that could be personal loans, that could be car loan, that could be your mortgage. Those all count for open accounts.
Okay.
If you have those.
12 open accounts.
That's 12.
Okay.
That's what we want to shoot for. Next is inquiries.
Ugh,
Yep.
I have a lot.
Yeah. So
I buy lots of houses.
Yeah. So when it comes to inquiries, you want to stay between 2 to 3 inquiries. So I'll always recommend definitely trying to get those off, but you only want to remove inquiries that are not associated with any open or closed accounts.
Huh.
So you want to try to get off empty inquiries.
So something you didn't, like if you're like, oh, I want to get this credit card and they do an inquiry and you don't get it, that's the one you want to go.
That's the one. Because what will happen is if you try to remove an inquiry that's associated with, say, an open account, it could delete that whole account.
All right. Well.
And if you try to delete an inquiry with a account that's with a closed account but was in positive standing, you could wipe that account away, which then could hurt you.
All right. So I need to not get so crazy about my inquiries because they may not be hurting me as much as I think. I need at least 12 open accounts, which means I need to, as Chris Colgan is calling it, credit stack, where I'm going to credit stack all in one day to figure out what card I want the most and take all the hard inquiries at once so it counts as one. I need to be at a 3 to 10% utilization rate on the daily, and so that my credit score stays high, and then 100% on my payments. Did I get all the things right?
You did.
Okay.
You did.
And then most importantly, make sure that you're auditing your credit accounts because you want to challenge those things that shouldn't be on there because that could increase your score without you having to do anything else, without you having to purchase, without you having to get more credit cards, without you having to open more accounts. You could probably literally increase it over a 30 to 45 day window then if they're not getting back to you. I mean, that's pretty impressive. 45 days from now, your credit score could look drastically different if you just do the things that Josh said. Exactly. And if you're anything like me and you don't have the time to do all of that, I think people are already asking, how can you help them, Josh?
For sure. So one way for sure. So I actually have a software where you can upload your credit report. It'll let you it'll automatically identify the negative items on your credit report. So you just literally upload your report, negative item, click, 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 and it'll automatically generate a letter for you. So you don't have to sit there and try to figure out what I write. Oh, I don't know what to do.
Dang.
It'll automatically generate the letter for you, and all you have to do is print it out, or you can send it virtually online. A lot of people don't know you can send mail just through your desktop or laptop and send it off, and then it automatically triggers that time clock. And by the time that 30 to 45 days mark is up, you re-upload your report, and you'll be able to see what happened, and it'll generate the next letter if need to.
Sounds pretty easy.
It's very easy.
If you can't do that, we got issues.
It's very easy, and the cool thing about it is I actually lay out my exact process within my software. So it's basically like a course. I just video modules, like step by step, do this, do this, do this, call for the personal information. Here's what you write for the reason of your dispute. I'll walk you through it. And the best thing about it, the tool is free to use. You just need to pay for your credit monitoring, which is only $29 a month.
That's awesome. Why do you do it for free?
This is why I do it for free. Because
that's awesome.
The reason I do it for free is because I also come across a lot of people who have been burned in the past by credit repair companies.
Yeah.
So, because there is some type of stigma.
Some people are sleazy about it.
They are. So I wanted to empower people to be able to do it for themselves.